Five, four, three, two, one. Hello and welcome back to the Blue Room EWFC podcast with me, Peter McFarlane. I'm delighted to say I am joined this evening by one of my favourite people in the world, our merch supremo, Fiona. Fiona, how are we?
I'm good, thanks. How are you, Pete?
I'm good. I'm good. Been a bit of a hectic week. Still got loads of stuff happening in ours. I'm looking forward to this Sunday though. Looking forward to the game. Obviously, you know me. I'm not the biggest fan of the League Cup, what
The
used to be
Subway
called the
Cup.
Fancy Cup, Subway Cup now, Subway Cup. I'm partial to a Subway. Not too keen on the competition, but yeah. What are you? How have you been? What's been happening this week? Tell me all about what you've been getting prepared for us for Sunday for us Evertonians.
We've been really busy here at Merch HQ this week. We're back at the Wimslow on Sunday at 12 o'clock, and we are really excited that we now have our 2025-26 season songbooks. They are here,
Is right.
full of songs for all the new players, ready to go. £2 down at the Wimslow. Please, please, please come and pick them up and support the Supporters Club in making flags, progressing the women's game, and hopefully, ultimate aim is to be able to help assist with away transport to at least one game this season.
Absolutely, and I think it's such an important aspect of what we as a supporters club want to do. You know, when everyone looks around Goodison Park on a match day and they see the flags hanging from the Gladys Street, we obviously have a big help from the 1878 in terms of the flag displays, the big wave of flags that we're borrowing at the moment. But ideally, we want to be able to buy our own, don't we? We want to make sure that we have our own sets of everything. We want to make sure it's all totally personalised for Everton women. We don't want to have to rely on our good friends at the 1878, for forever. But it's fantastic. I'm a huge fan of all the merchandise. Obviously, I mean, just a bit of background in terms of the merchandise that we do sell. Um, Tell me a little bit about how you and Meg started doing things, because I know one of the issues we've always had as a supporters club is that there just isn't any merch available, is there? And don't seem to sell any. So just tell me a little bit about how you've come up with some of the ideas.
So it's sort of a two-pronged approach, really. We started with the songbooks, and it all started um, probably about 2021, maybe. It was long before the Euros anyway. And I think the club put on a bus for us to go to Man United game at Old Trafford. And at that point, we had quite a few chants going. And Meg and myself thought, you know what we could do? We could get everyone on those bus knowing all the words, so we can try and get some volume at Old Trafford. So we sat on our living room floor and made 30 copies of the songbooks from hand with a stapler and a spoon to staple them down the middle, and we gave them out on the bus. And we thought, you know what, we could raise some money here for a good cause. And from there, we grew it and spent our summer putting together a songbook, which we got printed to sell, and it all sort of grew from there. The other items we do, sort of the beer mats, the drawings, I can't take credit for them at all. They're all Meg. She was looking for a birthday present for me one year, again, before 2022 Euros. So before women's football was really sort of on the tip of people's tongues. And she was looking for sort of Everton bits, women's football bits in general to get me, and there was nothing. She couldn't find anything worthwhile. And I'd bought my dad and her dad coasters for Everton and my dad's club with the male players on that we'd seen on Etsy. And she thought, you know what? I can do that. And so there it went. And we started looking up different beers and drinks from countries that our players come from. And now nearly every player has their own beer mat. And I think it's something really lovely, not just for the fans to collect, but the players to collect as a reminder of their time at the club.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's something. Obviously, as the Everton Women Official Supporters Club Committee, we consult over these types of things, don't we? We sort of come up, in terms of ideas and things like that. I think that it's been fantastic for certainly for Julie and myself to have you and Meg on board in terms of that creative aspect as well. Just to add, it helped so much to get things started in terms of being able to produce things as well. But now obviously we're able to get mass produce things a bit easier, aren't we? Now that we've been able to get up a bit of a fund together, we're able to mass produce. We've
Oh,
obviously
absolutely.
as well, yeah, and that obviously takes the pressure off you two, which is the main aim. Just so everyone knows as well, all of the merchandise that we sell, every single penny goes towards, every single penny of profit goes towards the flags. We don't take a wage. We're volunteers. We everything that every penny that people spend it goes back towards the flags and to try and dress Goodison Park up. I was so proud from last season. I remember when we first moved to Walton Old Park and we kind of had a vision about. I always said I wanted to have that entire section covered with flags, and I'd already got a few made myself, but obviously they're expensive, so I was sort of dipping into my own wages and trying to get these things done. Thankfully, I had a few contacts who were able to help me out in terms of getting things a bit cheaper. But in terms of the scale, there was absolutely not a chance we would have been able to do that without the merch side to be able to actually raise the funds, because these things aren't cheap. So it's been fantastic. Obviously, you keep me busy as well during the summer.
Oh,
Constantly
absolutely.
talking, aren't we, in terms of songs? My neighbours probably hate me. I think they hate me anyway, but there's an added bit of hatred when it comes to songwriting season. But it's good fun though, isn't it? It is good fun.
It it is. There's some things that the club could do better to help us sort of release players, not last minute. We all know when the start of the season is and when deadline day is, and it's a bit of a push trying to get all those songs in, especially when they're players that aren't like super well known and people might not have heard of. It's very hard to find lyrics to someone that we've never actually seen play in the WSL, because I think a lot of people can say that the WSL is so different to some of the other leagues worldwide.
Absolutely. I think that's what we try and do, though. We try to, like, a lot of the songs, we try to be clever with, basically. Not overly clever, but a lot of the songs have references to, like, either where someone's from, like a country, a song which might have an association with a certain place, or play on words. I remember when I was thinking of the Claire Wheeler one. I always say it's my favourite. And by the way, I spoke to Claire last week. If anyone hasn't seen that yet, have a look back on the videos here. I spoke to Claire last week, and I mentioned her chant, and she said she absolutely loves it. And I spoke to her off camera as well, and I was telling her about the words of it and the lyrics of it, and basically it's all about the story of her career. But it only started because I was doing the garden and my dad's. I had the
Mm.
radio on, and Tina Turner came on. Big wheels, and it's big
Yeah.
wheels keep on turning. And I thought wheels, Claire Wheeler. That's where it comes from. That's where the actual link to the song is. It's just literally because we call her Wheels. So it was big wheels, and we just said Claire Wheeler, and then it was kind of she left her old club in Sydney instead of you know left my old job in the city. It kind of just fitted, didn't it? It works. But one of the best things for me in terms of that is when we do come up with like these new chants and just hearing people for the first time when it really clicks and people get on board with it. I remember the derby at Anfield earlier on the season, the first game of the season this year, the Mas Pacheco one. It was great, wasn't it? Everyone started joining in. But now we've got the songbooks. The songbooks are going to help so much, aren't they?
I think that'll just help sort of reaffirm lyrics in people's heads, and people can go home and for every song that's in there, we reference which song it comes from. So if they don't particularly know a tune and they think, "Oh, I want to know how this goes," it's there so they can see what song it is, look it up, listen to it, and try and fit the words in themselves. I mean, I put a little playlist together on Spotify with all the songs that we've got, and I sit going down the motorway singing all of our songs over, like lyrics over the lyrics of the songs.
Yeah. We need a little night out on the karaoke, don't we? We'll just take over. We'll find a pub somewhere with karaoke, and we'll just take over and do all our songs. I've actually suggested it to the club, to be honest. Said to them, fan zone, some point I'll get up on the old karaoke machine and belt out some tunes to the lyrics of our Everton women players. But again, though, in terms of trying to make the players feel welcome, we kind of push about the atmosphere, don't we? We're really sort of atmosphere focused because we're aware Goodison Park, it's a big stadium. It's a huge stadium. It's not at the moment, it's not as full as we'd want it to be. But having said that, it's been such a leap in terms of going from Walton Hall Park with, from Southport with if we were lucky, we'd have a couple of hundred. Walton Hall Park, we started to sort of pack that out, but it was hard to get momentum because of like the weather and things like that, where it's absolutely lashing down and you can't really take your kids in the middle of winter to the middle of a park, which hasn't got a roof. But the step up for Goodison, I think we can't lose sight of the fact that there's been such a massive percentage uptick in terms of the people who are now attending at Goodison Park compared to Walton Hall Park. But also, we are still aware that it's going to take a lot for us to really get that atmosphere across. So it's such a huge thing for us, isn't it? And how much, and again, from knowing you for years now, we have a great time, don't we?
Oh, it's
When
a
we're in the middle
party.
of it all.
It's a party every day. Doesn't matter what the score is. We're having a party there in the Lower Gladys Street, singing away and backing those players, because a lot of players say in interview, whether it's with you, whether it's with Sarah or anyone else, that the fans are the 12th man. So knowing that we're really making a difference and pushing them on is what it's all about.
Yeah, absolutely. I think as well, it's nice for certainly for the new players to come in, because a lot of players, people would be surprised. There's a lot of teams who literally don't have chance for their players. And we know, like, we've got a chance, at least one for everyone, for every single player. Every single player's got a chance. Some of them have got multiple. I mean, Yaya, how many she got now? I mean, to be honest, there's probably about 4 or 5 in the songbook. We've got about 10. She just
We
fits
must be
into
between
everything, doesn't she?
6 or 8, I think, for Yaya, but we have to filter out which ones go in the songbook, because otherwise it would just be Yaya and friends.
Yeah, yeah. Well, that's kind of just Yaya all over that, isn't it? We should just do a little limited edition version of just Yaya. little little Yaya songbook, the songs of Yaya. Um, but yeah, I mean, talking of the fans, the atmosphere, and everything. I hadn't asked you this. Was last week the first time you've been in the Hill Dickinson?
It was the first time I've been in Hill Dickinson, and there was something really special, not just to be in Hill Dickinson for me, because I've not been able to make it to any of the test matches or the men's matches just due to other commitments. But walking up sort of into the stadium and turning around and seeing our flags in the Hill Dickinson and thinking, we've gone from 3 little flags on a fence in a field to this, and knowing sort of how much that means, not to someone who's helped build that, but knowing that to the players that are walking out for their first time at the Hill Dickinson, seeing that and knowing that support travels with them. Where they go, we go.
Absolutely. I think that for me, because I got down there early with me mum. My little mum came in. It was her first match at the Hill Dickinson. Managed to get her up in the upper south, and got there early and got those flags hung up. And again, I kind of had that little moment because I can't see. Obviously, when you're hanging them, you're up there. You can't really see what it looks like from below. So when you do, you turn around and they're all there. It was a really sort of, it is a proud moment for you, isn't it? Because you look at it's a kind of a visual representation of all the hard work that goes into it in terms of when you and Meg have been stood, as I say, outside, walking around, selling these little bits of merchandise, trying to save up every single penny we can to put it towards either stocking up or getting all these flags. And even when you look at the size of the flags now as well, the leaps that we've been able to come, in terms of leveling things up a little bit, it's fantastic, isn't it? And obviously, it's helped. We've got the contacts now as well through the 1878, where we've got a really good flag supplier who can do us some good deals as long as we keep going to them. We need to keep the ball keep it ticking over. The next thing as well. I mean, Hill Dickinson. I've been there. I've got a season ticket with the men's side. That for me is one of those games that will stick out for me. Not necessarily for the result, but as you said, to see that we kind of arrived there in such a world class stadium, to see those players go out there and perform under so much pressure. Eventually, because United are such a great side, we kind of capitulated a little bit in the second half, but take nothing away from those players. They, certainly for the first hour, they had a right go, didn't they? I actually thought as well, looking back at the game, the atmosphere came across really well, didn't it?
I think we raised the roof on the Hill Dickinson, considering we didn't have the capacity in there that you might have for a men's game, you could hear it loud and proud. And yes, it wasn't the score we wanted, but we went out there, we scored first. So the first woman to score at the Hill Dickinson was a toffee, and that's what's important. And yes, our game plan could have changed when we went 2-1 down, but that's not on the players. Those players put everything they've got on that pitch.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's kind of a bit of a story of our season so far as well. You know, we don't like to be negative. We like to try and, you know, we back the players 100%. We always do. We're not the type of fan base who gets on players' backs or boos them or anything like that. You know, we try and support everything. I mean, as I say, I don't want to be too negative, but certainly in terms of the results and how we've been performing this season, I know that there's so much quality in that side, and we all do, and we're all aware of the amount of quality that is in that side. The what worries me is that I feel like they're not able to express themselves to the level that they should be able to, and that's at some point that's something's got to give, and whether that means that the manager has to change his tactics, his outlook on going into these matches. Um, None of us want to see Brian lose his job at the end of the day. You know, we do. You know, as a person, I think we can all say that Brian's been a really been a breath of fresh air and someone who's always been very approachable for the supporters club. But with these new owners, certainly results have to improve, don't they? Things have to improve because I don't think that these owners will be happy to or too patient to wait too much longer if results don't get better. Let's move and talking about results. This weekend gives us a prime opportunity, doesn't it? Playing Nottingham Forest. We last time out against Forest, we gave them a bit of a beating. Obviously, they're a side on the up. That it's fair to say. Um, but we should be going up against Forest and putting in a really strong performance this weekend, shouldn't we, Fiona?
I think with the players we have in that team on that bench, we should be fighting against Forest. Yes, they're a team on the up and up, and they've had some great results coming into it, and we might be on the back foot in terms of results. We are a league above them, and we have Champions League players sitting on that bench on that pitch, so we should be seeing those results. And I think maybe if the players are allowed to play more creatively and more openly, like we saw in the derby, really, then those results should follow. Again, I don't want to be negative about Brian, but I feel he really believes in a style of football which can work great against certain teams, and I'd like to think it will work great against Forest. But if you compare him to sort of the great managers, sort of Emma Hayes, Serena Weigman, something people always say about them is they don't just have a plan A and B; they have a plan A, B, C, D, E, and F. And I feel like sometimes, especially watching the United game, we have a plan A and B, and then we get stuck there. Sort of, yes, we went out, we scored, we then sat back and defended that win, which was working very well. And we could have done that at 1-1 and tried to defend that point, which would have been a really crucial point. But I think we sat back too much, and instead of thinking actually time for plan C, go out there, try and score again, or be a little bit more aggressive in our approach, we could have limited it. But it's testimony to Brian that he is sticking to something that he believes in. And that belief, you can see his belief in the club. And hopefully that will soon translate into the wins on the pitch.
Yeah, really, really hope so. I really do. And again, we've got to stress this. There's not a single fan who I know who has any kind of animosity towards Brian, as in as a person, he's clearly a football genius in many senses because of all of the, when you think about the technical side of what he does. I know that he's patented like a number of different different pieces of technology which help to track players and training and things like that. He's very sort of data orientated. I also look at something which I've considered more recently, especially when you see against Manchester United, the amount of backroom staff that they have, in terms of analysts, in terms of the medical side of it, the everything else. And Manchester United fans are kicking off about their owners, saying that they're not backing them. But when you look at their bench compared to ours, I mean, it's chalk and cheese. In many ways, I look at it and think, well, could we do with more experience, or not necessarily experience, but expertise in certain positions? So I look at the amount of teams now who have, it's attacking coaches, who have defensive coaches, who have, specific roles for specific positions, just to try and add like a little bit of seasoning, a little bit of flavour, to try and get out that little extra couple of percent, which can be the difference in when you're playing in the top league. And I look at that and think, would that type of appointment or that type of thing help Brian to take the pressure off a little bit, so that he can concentrate more on the general management of the team, so he can not relinquish control of things, but he can oversee, rather than having to be so hands-on with everything all the time. I think that is something which if the freaking group want to stick with Brian long term, that's something that needs to be addressed. Because I look at it and think about the quality in the side. I also look at the age of the squad, and I look at them and think a lot of these players are very inexperienced when it comes to playing at the highest level. And I look at them and think, who are they learning off? We've lost a lot of experience on the pitch. We lost Justine van Havermaet in the summer, who was a midfielder who you'd think Rosa van Gool will be able to learn off. Well, she's gone. Mara Mielda at the back, an absolutely fantastic centre half at international level, had such an amazing career. Won all those titles at Chelsea, and she's someone who's so well respected in the game. She came in January and probably turned our season around because of her experience and that leadership that we were lacking after Meg Finnegan unfortunately got injured. I look at this and think, who are the players learning off if they're only surrounded by youngsters and a very, very small group of coaching staff? So I look at it and think, you either need to bring in more experience on the pitch, or or both, you need to bring in more experience off it as well for these players to learn off. So it's one of those things. And we like to try and stay positive. At the end of the day, we have no control, do we, over who manages the side or what tactics get put out there. But we'll certainly back the team, won't we, from the first minute till the last.
Exactly. We're not privy to what goes on day in, day out at training, and the decisions that are made and the reasons why those decisions are made. But I think you do make some really good points. The experience we've got are currently all injured, or out. You look at experienced players like Meg, who's out with her knee. Yaya, another amazingly experienced player, both now in the WSL, having been with us for a number of seasons, and internationally with her career with Italy. You look at players like Lucy Hope, who bleeds blue, really, but she's out on maternity leave. So all that experience and sort of knowledge of how Everton work and on the pitch isn't there. And I know Meg is doing her best behind the scenes, sort of, she's there leading the girls day in, day out, but it's not the same as having that sort of leadership and experience on the pitch with them. And again, you look at our goalkeepers, we have three now with Katie Startup, incredible goalkeepers, and you think that's a position that we know have an incredible goalkeeping coach who is dedicated to that, and you think that is just testament to what having a specialist coach can do. So maybe if that's what it takes to take some of the pressure off Brian and Stephen, then that's what we need, because the two of them work very hard, but they seem to be the only two technical coaches. I know there's a couple of others bouncing around, but in terms of the fine details, there's two of them managing a squad of 23, 25 players.
Yeah, that's it. And when you think as well, when Chris Roberts was there, obviously he's moved to Brighton. I think we've seen an upturn or an up, we've seen the progression of Brighton since Chris Roberts has gone there. Well, not saying it's all down to Chris, but we certainly know that Chris is a quality coach. We know what he can bring to a backroom, to the setup in terms of his experience, in terms of his coaching standards. That is something that I'd like to see. I'd certainly like to see. I think that having specialist coaches for specialist positions is a must in this day and age, at this level of football. I think it's something which not only would help Brian and Stephen and the rest of the staff, it also massively helped the players as well. It also, as I say, just shares the load, shares the responsibility as well a little bit. Ultimately the manager he's the one who's going to be under scrutiny when results aren't going well. But at least if there's people to share the load, people who can say, well, do you know what, this isn't quite working. I've got this idea. This is what I think we should try. Just having the people to bounce ideas off, but people who you can trust and people who actually have the football knowledge and the football experience to be able to pass that information on. I mean, I look at someone like Izzy Christiansen, for example. Obviously, she's at Man City now, the under-20 shit, but the under-21s.
Yes, she's with the under-21s while she finalises her A badge.
Yeah. So you've got Izzy Christiansen there. We don't have anyone like that in our setup. Obviously, we don't really necessarily have a dedicated under-21 side anymore. There's that's another area that needs to be addressed in terms of what's happening with the academy in terms of bringing players through and not having to just send them out on dual registrations. We want to be able to develop our own players and keep everything in house and have them playing at a certain level and a certain high standard. But again, someone like Izzy Christiansen, I can't say her name tonight. Izzy Christiansen. What is wrong with me? Having that experience around the players for me is a must. And I think if the possibility arises where we could get someone of that ilk, someone with that experience to come in and help out, I think that would be a fantastic move for the football club. Moving on to Sunday, to talk specifically about the game. Your predictions. What are you feeling about this one? Obviously, we've discussed about where we're sort of at as a team right now. What are your predictions?
I'm going to be really hopeful with this one, and I'm going to go for a 4-1 win. I'm going to give Forest the benefit of the doubt there and say they'll get a goal. I don't want them to, but I think with the right combination of players, we can get a few goals going, get some confidence back into those players, especially those in the front line. Get a few goals under our belt, and then I think we go. Do we go into the international break after this game?
There's not many of them. I think we do, yeah.
Let our players go off an international break. Come back with
it's so hard to actually keep track at the moment of this is one of the things that absolutely does my head in about the WSL. It's like you can't get any momentum because as soon as you have a game, you've then got another 2-week international break. Yeah, we've got the international break. Then the 2nd of November is the next game away at Villa.
Yeah, so I think if we can come off Sunday with a high, players go off, play internationally, have a break, continue like their backstage training if they're not going away with their country, and come back then on that high of knowing actually we've had a recent win under our belt. Where do we go with Villa? Villa have always been sort of what I'd like to say is our closest rivals in terms of skill and performance levels. So coming in off a high for that should give us that boost going into that game, going, actually, we can score. We know how to do it. Let's go for it.
Consider as well. I always look at this competition. I'm not a fan of the Subway Cup. I'm not a fan because I think that I never know how it's drawn. I actually don't understand how it is you're supposed to get out of the group if you lose your first game. I kind of feel it's pointless having a group because you're out. There's no two ways about it. We never end up in a group which is kind of evenly split. We always end up in a group with a Champions League standards side. We never get the easy group. So, but I do look at these fixtures and think even if we've got no chance of qualifying, we might have a slim chance, but I don't think we'll qualify. It is that chance to be able to get players up and running, to be able to like you say, get on the score sheet, to get a bit of confidence back, to be able to get more minutes in the legs of some of the players coming back from injury. Kelly Gargo, for example, I'd love to see her start on Sunday. I'd love to see Tony Payne start on Sunday. I want to see her up to speed. You know, you look at Maz Pacheco as well. Maz hasn't played in the last, or hasn't started the last few games. I think Maz deserves to come back into that side, depending on obviously what Kitagawa, how she is after she went down against United. So yeah, it does give us an opportunity to be able to get some minutes in the legs of some of the players who maybe haven't been able to hit the ground running this season. And like you say, it gives us a chance to hopefully build up some confidence. The flip side is if we don't win, I mean, this for me is in a weird kind of way. There's more pressure on this game than there was for United last week. I don't think that realistically anyone looked at the United game. I was trying to be optimistic in the build up to it, but realistically, we know that United are such a huge, a hugely talented squad, not just starting 11 squad. They're the Champions League standard squad. They're phenomenal. They've got quality all over the pitch. We knew that it was going to be a tough game. This weekend, for me, in terms of the future of Brian Sorensen in particular, I think if we get beat this weekend, the hammer blow that would give not just to the players' confidence, but also to Brian's confidence, but also to the supporters' confidence in terms of, we really need that first win at Goodison, even if it is in a competition which we might not be able to get out of the group of. We desperately need to get, to put on a performance for the fans, don't we?
I know you and I have been around long enough to know that anything can happen in the Subway Cup, but to get that win at Goodison will be a massive thing. And I think the pressure's not just on the players, it's on Brian. And I think should we come away not victorious, questions are going to start being asked more broadly about whether he's the man to do it. And that's not what I want. I don't want to see a manager fail. Not especially one who's got sort of the talent scouting that he's got. He's brought players that have so much skill and talent into that squad
Yeah.
that we'd never have been able to dream to get before. So if you look at Martina Fernandez, we'd never have got the likes of Martina without him and his beliefs. So I do hope that he does play sort of a lot of those players that are coming back in and need the minutes under their belt. But there's also players that I know that have got bags of experience that I'd love to see on the pitch. Sort of, we've not seen Kenzie Weir yet, and she's spent that year alone. She had Champions League experience, and we've not seen her yet this season. So it'd be nice to see her give Izzy Hobson a run around now that we've got her back from Forest.
Is she cup side or could she play? I've never got an answer on that. I'd
did she
assume
play
she'd
in
be
their
cup
last
side,
game?
but
I don't think she played in their last game.
we'll have to check that. I know we're
It'd be
coming up.
nice.
I know Shani Boy Hawker's playing for Forest, and she's nailed on to score, isn't she? She
Oh,
always. I remember, when she's played for Villa against us, she's been brilliant.
if Channy's on the pitch against us, she's going to score. She'll do it for fun. She's one of those players that no matter who she plays for, if she can face us, she'll want a goal because she knows deep down we'll all still support her because of her background and where she's come from.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you know what though? Shani's one of them players as well. Just to touch on Shani while we've got an excuse to talk about her. She was one of those players who was. She absolutely bled blue, Shani. She was one of them players who we absolutely adored. One of the players who I was absolutely heartbroken, when she actually left. I've actually got a signed ball here, and she'll be on this. But she's one of those players that we all absolutely adore, but someone who's always had so much time for the Everton supporters. So I think for me, that's something I'm looking forward to on Sunday as well. To see Shani again, because I'm sure she'll come over to the Gladys Street at the end and come and say hello to us all. She always does. Her family always follow her everywhere as well. Sure, they'll be in and amongst it. But as I say, it's not necessarily in terms of stature, in terms of attention that we're going to be laying, for this match on Sunday. It's not the biggest game in the world. It's in a competition that we're not necessarily that bothered about. But having said that, it's so important for us to get that first win under our belts at Goodison Park. And so I'm looking forward to it. Very quickly, Fiona, before we finish, tell me merchandise, where you're going to be,
We're
what
going to be at the
time,
Wimslow
what that.
from 12 o'clock, so 2 hours before kick-off. We'll be there until about 20 minutes before kick-off because I'm sure you'll appreciate that we want to be there. We want to hear Z Cars and watch our girls walk out just as much as everybody else. So from 12 o'clock in the Wimslow, on the raised little platform area, we will be there and would love to see you all there, even if it's just for a chat. Come and see what we've got available. Kids, asked Dad to give you some money.
I like that.
But come in, shelter from the cold, because no doubt it will be cold. It's an Everton game. It could be the middle of August and it'll still be the coldest place in the planet.
Hide from the Copites as well. Hide from the Copites because they're playing the same day, so you need to get off. Get out the way if you're there early. You don't want to be walking into any of those. So get into the Winslow.
Get out the way.
Yeah.
If they're in the Winslow, we'll shove them out the
Oh, they'll
door.
get chucked out. Not having them in the Winslow.
We're there. We're always up for a chat. Something we are introducing is some little packs with some support numbers on, especially following in the wake of Matt Beard. It's really important to a lot of us sort of within the supporters club that people know where they can turn to if they need support. So there will be some sort of free leaflets should anybody feel like they need support that you can pick up. No judgment. And there are different contact numbers for people you can reach out to. So that's something that we will be introducing, and it'll just be a no judgment. There's some support that's available to you.
That's fantastic. Yeah, it is one of those things. I think I'm not shy about talking about it. I've suffered with mental health issues in terms of depression and things like that over the years, and I always find that when I've been at my lowest, I feel like it's so important to have that sort of group, that support around me. And I think one thing that I can say from the bottom of my heart is that going to watch Everton women, whether it was back in the Southport days when I was really struggling at that time. I'll be honest with you, I was really struggling. Meeting everyone, getting to know everyone, and getting behind the players was such a huge part of such a huge thing for me in terms of turning that corner, and it continues to be such a huge part of my life. And for, as much as I love the football, as much as I love supporting the players, the biggest part for me is the people. And certainly you're a fine example of the of one of the people who's a credit to our football club, and someone who I'm very proud to call a friend, Fiona. You and Meg. And on that note, we'll finish. I'll before I start crying, I don't want to start tearing up on the web on a podcast. But
do you need some
yeah,
support numbers, Pete?
I'll just phone you. I think I'll phone you. Yeah. No, as I say, thank you so much for everything you do, Fiona. Send me love to Meg as well. I'll see you both on Sunday. I'll be there early. I'll be putting the flags up. I'll also be at the back of the Gladys Street thing. If anyone's been so far this season, we've been dishing out the flags for our flag displays from the back of the Gladys, just behind GT3. So if anyone wants to get involved with that, drop us a message or just come over, come and say hello, come and grab a flag, get involved. Let's get behind the players. Little bit of a break after that till our next game at Goodison as well. Tickets are still on sale now. If anyone does want to get a last minute ticket, get down, bring the kids, bring your mum, bring your dad, get down to Goodison Park and support our amazing Everton women. Up the
Don't forget,
toffees.
donuts are only £2.50.
Donuts are only £2.50. How could I forget that? Donuts are only £2.50. Also, some of the other food is a little bit cheaper as well. I've noticed, and it's the exact same stuff that we have at Hill Dickinson. So if you switched on, get down, get a donut. Them donuts are boss as well, aren't they?
They are good. Right. See everybody on Sunday.
Is right. Up the toffees.
Up the toffees.